Hello, my name's Raphael. I'm a dietitian community dietitian working in sort of East London. I've got a passion for sort of plant-based eating, and today I'm going to be cooking a sort of seasonal vegetable curry. So the first thing we're going to do is just prepare the dough for the flatbreads. We've got our whole wheat flour, so we've got 200 grams of that. We're going to add in sort of about half a teaspoon of salt. Then we're going to add the baking powder. Just give the dry ingredients a little bit of a mix. Make sure the salt's well distributed. And then we're going to add sort of equal volume of flour and yogurt. So we're doing 200 grams of each. That's probably going to make 5 largest flatbreads. So we're not sort of kneading this like we would do bread. It's flour and a bit of yogurt, and it's just going to fry and puff up. So you're not worried about sort of gluten formation or anything like that really. So just as long as all the ingredients are sort of well mixed. All we're going to do now is just leave that to rest for the duration of the sort of cooking of our curry. And then we're going to roll them out at the end and then fry them. Using rapeseed oil, we can grow rapeseed in the UK, so that's part of the reason why we're using it. It's also really good for your omega-3, 6 and 9. It's low in saturated fats and is healthy for you, so it's a great one to cook with. So it's made more sustainable by using some creamy oat instead of using single cream. It's associated with much lower sort of carbon emissions using that product than your dairy. We know that dairy is sort of, from the evidence, is sort of second largest contributor to our greenhouse gas emissions. Once the onions are all sort of nicely cooked, we're just going to add in our curry powder and then stir that through a little bit. Just coat the onions. If you want to have a bit of a kick and you want a bit of chilli, then add a bit of chilli. And so once that's all coated, then we start adding in our garlic and our ginger. And we can also add in sort of the first of our vegetables today, which is the butternut squash. So as I say, just swap around different vegetables. So you don't have to use butternut squash. You could use sweet potatoes, or you could use sort of new potatoes. Any starchy carbohydrate as a just to give you a bit here. This dish is going to be really high in fibre, and each of your vegetables, it's almost 5 a day in one dish. So just adding in the passata. It's just a little bit thicker than using stock. So again, just trying to get a little bit of a creamy texture to the main base of this. Then we're going to add in our creamy oats. And then we're just going to leave that to simmer. You might want to give it a little bit of a seasoning to your taste at this point. So for the protein, we're adding chickpeas. If you're using dried chickpeas and you've soaked them for your sort of 8 to 10 hours, then check the packet for your cooking instructions. It's going to take a little bit longer to cook. And we're adding 500 grams of chickpeas. Per portion, it's about 100 grams. And that equates to about 7 grams of protein per portion. And lots of people would think that doesn't sound like a lot. However, sort of for the general population, some people have higher protein requirements, but for the general population, it's about 0.75 grams per kilogram, and that equates to maybe 45 grams or 55 grams of protein per day for women and men respectively. But there's lots of high plant-based protein sources that you could swap out in this dish as well. So you could use corn, you could use soybeans, you could use any of your beans and pulses really. There's a good alternative protein source. Total meat intake at the moment sits at around 108 grams a day in the UK. So studies have shown that if we can reduce this down to 50 grams of meat a day, so not cutting it out completely, but just reducing down our intake, then it can reduce greenhouse gas emissions by 39%. So now that's been simmering for around 25-30 minutes. So the butternut squash is starting to get a little bit more tender. So what I'm adding now is a little bit of mango chutney. So we want 1 tablespoon or 3 teaspoons of this, and then we're just going to stir that through. We're also going to add our kale at this point, and we just want to wilt that through. It doesn't need to be cooked for ever such a long time, but we'll just leave it then afterwards for maybe 5 minutes, just to make sure that the stems are cooked. So it can be a little bit messy, this bit, and I'll try not to sort of get it on the outside. So I've just rolled out the flatbread to sort of split it into about five flatbreads, and that was with 200 grams of flour. Got a pan really hot here, and then we're just going to stick that in there. It's going to be a couple of minutes on each side. With the flatbreads, we used some wholemeal flour, but also we used the yogurt. That's a really good thing to include when you're moving to more of a plant-based diet, because removing that dairy from your diet, if you're following a vegan diet or you're reducing down dairy in line with current recommendations for reducing your environmental impact, is that what you're removing is the largest contributor to our iodine intake in the UK. So we need to make sure that that's replaced, and with products like that, so long as they're non-organic, is that they're going to be fortified with iodine. Check the back of the labels to check that you're getting one with a good amount of iodine. You also get some of your calcium, your vitamin D as well, which are all important. Swap out the different vegetables for lots of different seasonal varieties, and there you go. There's a easy midweek meal to have. It's high in fibre, low in saturated fat, and it's going to give you lots and lots of good nutrition.